My name is Michael Shelton. I'm an 8th grade science teacher here at Rusheon Middle School. And today I'll be teaching my class about the differences between igneous and sedimentary rocks. That's going to be our objective for today. And this is going to set us up for not only the rest of the unit, but the rest of the chapters and other units as well. This will be the foundation that they will use for the rest of the year. So I'm also working with them on their communication skills, their interpersonal skills, as well as their group work skills, just so that they can communicate more effectively with each other, but also communicate more effectively in their writing. Those written responses are really important to me, as they've been very key in not only succeeding in my classroom, but in other classrooms around the school as well. I'm also working with them on their progress builds, and I also have a data wall displayed. This helps them not only take full responsibility for their grades, but also gives them a sense of pride in how well that they're progressing through the unit. So this will stay up from the beginning of the unit to the end of the unit. So anyone that comes in, whether that's another teacher, a friend, other peers, anybody, they can brag about how much they're progressing in such a short amount of time. All right, so everybody should be on page 16 doing the warm-up. So if you go to that page, you'll see we have a full-size picture of this, but it's not colorized, right? Ours is black and white, but you can see that colorized version here. So that'll kind of help you answer the questions pertaining to these different rock layers. So in this picture, you can see those rock layers a lot better, but you're going to be answering the question right here, okay? So you've got about 5 minutes while I do the attendance, okay? And then I'm going to come around calling a couple of people, and we'll go from there. Sound good?
We got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. So how long did you estimate it took for each rock layer to form? Somebody raise your hand. Michaela.
I think it took millions of years for each rock layer.
Okay, millions of years. All right, calling somebody else.
I think the rock formation would take about over a billion years.
Over 1 billion, that's a long time. Calling somebody else.
Dry.
I say it took millions of years and maybe thousands.
Millions, maybe thousands. All right, one more person, maybe from this area right here. Pierre.
I said it took millions of years because the water has to drag the rocks away.
Okay, millions because it had to drag the rocks away. The water had to. Okay, good. So whether you said hundreds, thousands, millions, billions, okay, we're all saying what? What is that kind of common theme? Somebody raise your hand. Long time. Good. It takes a very long time. Okay. So why do you think it's difficult to observe rocks forming in nature? We just answered it, right? It takes a really long time. So if I'm trying to watch rocks form, okay, it's going to take a longer time than I'm going to live, than you're going to live, right? Unless we make these huge advancements in modern medicine, we all get to live forever and all of that. But as for right now, we're not going to be able to see these rock layers forming, right? It'd be like watching grass grow or watching paint dry or something like that. It'd just take a really long time. We wouldn't be able to see it. Today, though, we'll use pieces of hard candy to model how sediment forms rocks. This model will help us observe the process of rock formation over a short period of time. So, like I said, this helps us to kind of see what we can't normally see on a daily basis, or something that might take a really long time, okay? So how does the crushed candy compare to the sediment? Somebody raise your hand.
They're both tiny and is part of one huge rock.
Okay, both tiny and used to be part of one large rock. Okay, calling somebody else.
Geo.
Geo.
They both can be compacted into a bigger object.
Okay, they can both be pushed together and maybe form a larger object. Okay, so you're going to work in pairs and use these materials to model how sediment is compacted in order to form sedimentary rocks. So we're actually going to use these and we're going to simulate how compaction works. So over long periods of time, water, gravity, all that stuff pushes all these rocks together and they get compacted. So it's like getting smushed down really, really, really tight. Okay, so we're going to be doing that today. Okay, so y'all can go ahead, as soon as I give you one of these, you can start compacting it right away and start following the instructions up on the board. Okay. write in the questions on page 17. So start filling out those questions, and y'all can communicate back and forth, but we want to both have turns compacting them, okay? And partner A and C should have the cups right now. I need a volunteer to read question 1, please. Pierre, we'll start off with you.
How are the pieces of hard candy like pieces of rock sediment? How are they different?
Okay, and what did you put?
I put they both are pieces of sediment that can form one huge rock.
Okay.
And only one has a nice smell.
Okay. Okay. Calling somebody else to answer that same question. So now we're going to lift the inner cup and observe the candy pieces. So, little trick here. So if I was you, I'd flip it over like this and kind of tap it out and let it fall on top of this underside cup. If I can get it out there. I don't know. Y'all's might work better.
What if I do this?
That'll work too. But see if you notice any changes. Oh man, don't tap it too hard.
She's touching it with her fingers. What a weirdo.
Okay, so what do you notice?
I noticed that our rock did not sit together.
Do you notice any changes?
Yes. So our rock had 2 big pieces
Okay,
because it broke apart.
okay. So we went from several small pieces to, in some cases, 1 large piece. In other cases, a couple of larger pieces. Okay, but the point of it is that all these smaller pieces come together to form a large one, right?
Yes.
Okay, so they all stick together through, what was that C word?
Compaction.
Compaction.
Cementation.
Perfect. We're getting to that later. We're not at cementation yet, so we've just compacted it, but we don't have anything to stick it together, right? Or to hold it together. Okay, so we're going to try to get into that. So our model doesn't show how minerals cement the sediment together. So what could we do to add the process of cementation to our model? So what I want you to do is I want you and your shoulder partner to go back and forth in a rally robin to say what we could add to these models, these mixtures that we've made in order to simulate cementation. So like if Pierre and I were on a team, he was my shoulder partner, I would say glue, and he would say heat, and I would say water, and he would say
Air.
well, air's not going to put it together. Fire's not going to put it together either.
I mean, if you melt it with fire.
Okay, melting it, but that's a little bit different, right? That's not sticking it together. That's more like melting it down and forming what kind of rock?
A new rock. Oh, metamorphic.
Not metamorphic.
Igneous.
Igneous, right? But we're making what kind of rock?
Sediment.
Sedimentary. So we don't want to melt it. We just want to make sure it sticks together. Okay, but does everybody understand the concept? Okay, so let's have students A and C go first, and then B and D, you'll respond to them, and then y'all keep going back and forth. Okay? And we'll do that for 1 minute. So go.
Ice cream because it's like sticky.
Ice cream? Yep.
Maybe like marshmallows, honey. It's not sticky.
Peanut butter.
It's good. Tea.
Soda.
Spit.
Okay, y'all keep in mind we can do out of the box stuff, so we can do like marshmallows.
You already said that. You already said
So now we're going to be discussing how magma forms rock. Okay. So we're going to watch a short video of how rock is formed from magma. You'll see red hot magma coming from underground and cooling at Earth's surface. So when it comes out of the ground, it looks mainly like this, right? It's very hot. Okay. But what do you notice when it goes from here to further down? The change in color. Yeah, so it cools down. So from the source of it to where it ends up, it's going to cool down the whole way. And where else have we seen this? What other models have we done in the past where we saw this? The candle wax. Yeah, so what happened to the candle wax, Denasia? Yeah, so it moved very quickly when we first melted it, right? It was moving very fast. But then as it got further and further away from the source of it, it started slowing down, it started cooling, started maybe even pooling up. Okay, so let's keep all that in mind while we watch the video. And then calling somebody to read our key concept number 3, please. Jasmine.
When magma cools, it hardens to form an igneous rock.
When magma cools, it hardens to form igneous rocks. So now we know what? We know how igneous rock forms. We know how sedimentary rock forms, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what is our objective for today? Pierre.
Students understand that igneous and sedimentary rocks are formed in different ways.
Good, and now we know these ways, right?
Yes.
Okay, and what are those ways? Without looking at it, somebody raise your hand and tell me how sedimentary rocks are formed. Zayden.
Sedimentary, I think it would be compacted sedimentation.
Okay, good. Sedimentary rocks are formed by compaction and cementation. Okay, and then how are igneous rocks formed? Trent.
Igneous rocks are magma cooling.
Igneous rocks are formed by magma cooling or rock melting. Yeah, which when rock melts down, it forms what?
Magma.
It forms magma. Good. So either one of those, that's kind of like an interchangeable thing. Okay, so once you know how a rock formed, you can determine what type of rock it is. You can also look at a rock's characteristics to determine its type. So just like we can describe somebody and pick them out easier in a crowd, we can do the same thing with rocks, okay? Describe their characteristics to determine what kind of type of rock it is. So next, you're gonna work in your pairs, okay, to observe the rock hand samples again and sort them by type. So you're gonna sort them into, what are our 2 different rock types? We've got
Conglomerate,
sedimentary or conglomerate and
basalt, and
basalt and igneous. Good.
This one has like slightly any pebbles, unlike the sediment, because they compact together. This one also compacted together.
This one would be sedimentary. Okay, but it still could be a color.
Igneous or basalt, how do you know that?
Because
Dark in color, smooth. Okay, good. And then our final one, this one right here, sedimentary. That one was probably the easiest one because it looks like gravel was all stuck together, right?
It
looks like cement. Before you leave, we have an exit ticket. It's called Science Rocks because we love science and Mr. Shelton's super funny, right? Thank you, thank you. So I believe my objectives were met from the assessment on the exit ticket that assesses their comprehension of the objectives, and we'll make sure to include a picture of this exit ticket for you to see as well. All the questions on there allow them to really reflect back on what they learned throughout the lesson, and for me to have a good assessment if they truly understood what I was trying to get them to understand throughout the lesson. As for something that I would improve this next time around, next time I would want to have them interact more with their peers by transition from rally robin to mixed pair share. I think this would allow them to not only share ideas with their shoulder partner, but also exchange with the rest of their peers in the room throughout the lessons so that you can get several different perspectives and points of view on thoughts or things that might have come up or things that they thought were important. The exit tickets were collected, graded, and distributed back to the students in order to review and reflect as a class. I believe this really helps them to really hone in on what they've learned and to go back through it just to reinforce the objectives in the lesson, and just hopefully it'll sink in and they'll be able to use that information, use that knowledge throughout the rest of the unit. So even though this is my first year, I have felt tremendously supported by my district and administration. They've done a great job giving me the necessary tools to excel and support my students very well. This may be from professional development to TCs to everything in between. Maybe it's just simple advice about how to give a lesson or how to support a kid who might be struggling. But I've felt extremely supported through this entire year, and I can't thank the district and my administration enough for all they have contributed to my success along the way and the way that they continue to support me and all those around me. So again, I'm Michael Shelton here at Rusheon Middle School, and I just want to thank you again for taking a look at my application and giving me this opportunity. Much appreciated.